Hey there, beer tubers! Welcome back to Maxwell Star and Beer Analysis 101. Tonight, we're going to take a look at, we're on macro week, so we're going to take a look at one of Canada's favorite macro beers, Molson Canadian. Greg's favorite beer of all time. Speaking of getting down to the people that are on the panel right now, let's start with some introductions. We actually have Matt of Massive Beer Reviews, one of the most famous beer tubers around. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing okay, man. I mean, I'm in the middle of nowhere. I am internet poor at the moment, so I'm just trying to get by. And I don't know. It's going to be 70 degrees this weekend. It's the first time spring's coming. I'm happy. I'm going to drink a Molson Canadian with some, what is that? Is that, what do they call that? Hake or something like that on it? You know, I mean, life is good.
Yeah, I think they play on grass and they kick balls between a net.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, moving right along. Chris, on the 10th, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm trying to keep it as professional as I can today. I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to this, but not really. Being also Canadian, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, so yeah, that's all I got to say.
Yeah. And did you get a can that has a sports team on it?
No, I did not get a hockey ball team. I got just a regular.
Oh, like the retro label.
Yeah, just a regular can of the Molson Canadian.
All right, and moving right along, and this is the one I'm interested in seeing what your opinion of this beer is. Everybody knows this is one of your favorites, and he's actually look like you're hiding behind the can right at the moment. This is going to be an awesome story. I just know it. Greg, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Nick, I'm very unhappy to be here. I'm going to maintain professionalism because that's what I do, but I'm very unhappy to be here. I want terrible things to happen to you right now. I will say, though, the only nice thing is that I've got Joe's favorite sports ball team on here, the Buffalo Maple Leafs. I don't know. I guess Molson didn't spell Buffalo correctly, but it's there. And here's hoping they make the World Series this year.
Well, they got to win the Super Bowl first, don't they?
I think that's the qualifying round, yes.
All right. Okay. All right, and moving to the last, but certainly not least, we've got Ash Sexton here tonight. How are you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing great now. After drinking this world-class fine beer, we shall see how I am in about 15, 20 minutes. But thank you.
Nice. Yeah. All right. Should point out, it's like one thing that definitely Molson is known for is putting out some fancy patriotic bottles. You guys got the Toronto Maple Leafs. They have like an NHL series of cans and bottles. This is from the Olympics where it's got the gold foil cap, and yeah, it's all marketing.
I highly recommend if you're at an LCB or a beer store, you see one of these cans, feel it up. It feels really nice. Don't buy it. Feel it up. Get what you need out of it, and then put it back. Don't buy it. But it feels nice.
Don't buy it, feel it up, and put it back. That's literally Greg's like obituary.
All right, let's keep it professional here. All right, let's go over to the beer history, the illustrious history of Molson and Molson Canadian. Molson was founded in 1786.
Proper glassware.
Shut up, Greg. Mute yourself. Molson was founded in 1786 in Montreal, Quebec, and is the oldest brewery in North America still in operation. On May 12th, 1782, at the tender age of 18, John Molson left his native England for Canada, landing in Montreal in June. Shortly after his arrival, he began working at the Thomas Lloyd Brewery and eventually purchased the brewery in January of 1785. Afterwards, Molson returned to England to liquidate his assets, acquire modern brewing equipment, a shipment of barley and hops, and then returned to Montreal, opening his brewery on July 28th, 1786. Due to life in Canada, brewing was limited to 4 months of the year during winter. In the summer months, due to lack of refrigeration, ale was stored underground in vaults and kept cool with ice taken from the river. In their first year, the brewery made 4,000 gallons of beer, selling it for 5 cents a bottle, but demand grew by 1791 and production had increased to 30,000 a year. Fast forward to more modern times. In 1957, the Molson family acquired the Montreal Forum and Montreal Canadiens Hockey Club. Too bad nobody bought a can with that logo on it. In 1958, Molson acquired 6 breweries across Canada, expanding the company's reach nationwide. And a year later, in 1959, introduced their most well-known beer, Molson Canadian. In 1989, Molson merged with Carling O'Keefe and turning Molson into Canada's largest brewery and fifth largest worldwide. 1993, Molson entered into an agreement with Miller Brewing to establish a major presence in the U.S., and in 2005, Molson merged with Coors to become Molson Coors. In 2007, Molson Coors and Sab Miller began a joint venture in the U.S. market that lasted until Sab Miller was acquired by AB InBev, but in the aftermath, in the exchange of brands, including selling the Miller brand portfolio, Molson Coors emerged as the third largest brewery in the world. Molson family is still involved with the company. The sixth generation family, Eric Molson, retired in 2009, with his son Jeff Molson currently serving as chairman of Molson Coors. He's also the owner of the Montreal Canadiens now. Molson currently operates a major regional brewing centers in British Columbia, Ontario, Quebec, New Brunswick, and Newfoundland, and in 2014 made up 40% of the Canadian beer market. It's massive. So they are definitely a macro. Molson makes a wide range of beers, some of which include Molson Export, Molson Dry, Molson Triple X. They also have regional brands such as Old Style Pilsner, Black Horse, Carling Black Label, and more crafty brands such as Rickards and Creemore Springs. In addition to this, since the merger with Coors, they also produce Coors products such as Coors Banquet, Coors Light, and Belgian Moon, which is also known as Blue Moon in the States. Anyway, Molson Canadian is a 5% ABV American adjunct lager, introduced in 1959. Said that. As for Molson's marketing, it's made from Canadian-grown barley from the prairie and Canadian water from the prairies and Canadian water. It has also won awards over its run, including a silver medal at the 2002 World Beer Cup and gold in the North American style lager category at the 2006 Canadian Brewing Awards. Sounds like high standards. All right, so moving right along. Chris, you said you were going to read the comments tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm on the comments. I got,
All
we'll start right around where Joe comes in, the Beer Patrol. He says, the anticipation is killing me. I want to hear Greg's thoughts on Molson Canadian. He's the wild card here. And they responds with, nah, he's the card with the rules on it, and you toss it out of a fresh deck into the trash. And then Joe replies with, maybe they should do that with his score. We don't need the integrity of the score ruined by someone with clear bias towards the beer. And Lee agrees and says, let's just kill Greg. Andrew Watt says, I do love my Canadian. Let me see. Lee said, great advice, Greg. Molson products and walk away. Molest products and walk away. That's funny. Can't be. Craig says, that looks gross, and Greg responds with, tastes worse. Take it easy there, Greg. We'll get to you in a minute. And I hope, and Greg says, hope Joe does a review on this on his channel. And then Greg finishes up the comments up to now, and he says, is this better than Stella? And we'll get to that in moments.
Yeah, we'll get to that momentarily. Please. Okay, so... wow, that's professional. Matt, what's your history on this beer? You must have some kind of backstory with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, Molson Canadian is kind of like, it was the fancy beer that like our fathers drank. You know, down here in the United States, before like the craft beer boom kind of hit, and you could get like pretty much any beer you want nowadays. Like for us down here, Canadian beers were kind of like the fancy import. It was either Heineken or like Lowenbrau or Amstel or like a Molson one. You know what I mean? But it was just more readily available because it was Canada. So it's like when I think of this beer, I've had it before. When I think of it, I kind of think of my dad, or I think of like the people who are just trying to be a little bit kind of higher end with their beer choices. That's kind of like what it kind of invokes memory was.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I don't really understand it from that perspective. Because like for me, Molson's always been here. But cool. Chris, what's your history on Molson?
This brings me back to when I was 19, 20 years old, just getting into the bars, going up to the bartender saying, what are you going to have? And I'd be like, I don't know, Canadian, I guess. And that's pretty much what that reminds me of. And, beers changed over time, palates have changed over time. And, yeah, that's pretty much my history. I mean, I drank this for a while way back in my younger years, and now I don't. And there's a reason, and I'll tell you all about that in a moment. But yeah, so that's my history. Used to drink it. Now not so much.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Drum roll, please. Greg, what's your history on this beer? And please explain in detail.
This is actually my first time.
As long as it's PG. It's not the
This is
first
actually
time.
I've never had this before. I've tried to block this from my memory, Nick. I don't know. I don't know what my history is of this. I haven't drank this in a while, but I remember drinking this back in the day when I wasn't into craft beer and I just wanted a beer. And it's like, hey, what's the cheapest beer you have? Well, we have our cheapest beers are Molson Canadian and Coors Light. They're both the same price. I say, okay, I'll take the Molson Canadian because it's got higher alcohol and will get me drunk faster.
God.
And that's pretty much it. That's my history of it. I've probably drank it more times than I care to admit. But it's been a while.
I gotta say, I'm disappointed. I was expecting more like you had some kind of memory of like being hated, passed out in the drunk, or passed out in a ditch or something from this or a drunk tank.
Yeah, if you're expecting some major plot twist, season finale cliffhanger type thing, nah. I just think this tastes like shit.
Boring.
Sorry, spoilers. You don't know what it. I have an open mind. We'll see what happens soon.
Yeah, well, then turn that open mind into an open mouth and put it down the hatch. Anyway, Ash, what's your history on this?
Well, I'm going to assume that my history with this is probably not that much dissimilar from yours or from the panels. It's something I just sort of grew up with. Just being Canadian, this was like the rite of passage beer. This was the turn 19 or 18 if you're in Alberta, and this is the first beer you fucking put down your throat. And this brings me back to my college days. Actually, I drank quite a few of this going to college. And the moment I popped that top off, it brought me back there, and that's not in a good way.
No, I know exactly what you mean. The moment I opened this right up, I was like, oh, I remember that. It's got that distinctive Molson Canadian kind of smell to it, where it's got like, it's sweet but yeasty at the same time. But I mean, when it comes to my personal history with this beer, I think the first time I ever had it was, I think it was when I was 20. Like, it was when one of my other friends turned 19, and then we started, buying beer and drinking together after that point. Because I was always older than a lot of my friends. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to that, this is like one of the first beers that I actually drank, and it was tended to be my preference when compared to something like Labatt Blue or especially Budweiser. I would have drank this over a Budweiser, but I remember thinking it was a bit heavier than those back in the day. But I've had this time and time again over the years, but now it's just kind of gravitated into this is basic boring in comparison to definitely compared to some of the stuff you can get today. This will probably be the most boring beer of the night that I drink. Anyway, we got any more comments?
Nope.
No new comments.
Actually, we do. We have one just came in from Andrew Watts. He says, my honest truth about this beer, I love every bottle, but every third bottle is skunky. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'm getting like a little funk off of this one. Anyway, all right, so we might as well get right down to it. What's Matt? What's your thoughts on this now?
I didn't know we actually cracked it yet, so I haven't even been drinking it.
Oh, well, we can come back to it. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a step behind. I apologize.
All right. Yeah, we usually crack it open during when I'm doing the history spiel.
I'm fucking weird. Whatever. Anyway, sorry, I apologize.
So
That's
professional.
okay. We'll get back to you, Matt. It don't matter.
All right. Chris, go ahead.
I don't know. There's a reason that my brother drinks this all the time because he's too afraid of going into the craft world, and he really likes Molson Canadian. I'm more of a Coors Light fan when it comes to the Molson Coors product. I find there's an incredible difference between obviously this and Coors Light, and Coors Light for me is my go-to macro. And I would just want to pound something down. I'll just have a Coors Light. I always have Coors Light in my fridge. It's one of those days when I don't fucking feel like overanalyzing a beer while I'm drinking it. Nowadays, this doesn't taste as good. I remember on one of my videos, I did a comparison between this and Budweiser. This, was better than Budweiser, but not by much. I don't know. For style, as being a macro lager, it is very yeasty, as Nick would say. Um, so with that being said, I don't know. I'm gonna have to give it a 6 out of 10 on this one for style. And for my overall taste and displeasure, I'm gonna have to give this one a 5 out of 10. I'm not a fan of it anymore. I used to be, but I've kind of grown up. Maybe palates change all the time. So that's basically where I'm going with that one. So 6 on style and overall of 5. What I got.
Nice. All right, and Greg, what's your thoughts on and experiences on this for the first time in a long time?
I'd say 10's all around. 10 for style, 10 for personal preference.
Right. What's your actual ratings?
Well, it's corn and water and just a whole lot of nastiness put together. I actually, when I first took my sip, wasn't that offended by this because it was still fairly cold. It's warmed up in the glass. Now I'm quite offended. This is easily my least favorite of all the regular macros. I'll take a Budweiser over this any day of the week. I don't care for blue that much. I'll still drink that over this. I don't care for Coors Light. I'll still drink that over this. This to me is just gross. I'm having trouble putting it down. I will take any Lyra lager over this, even a skunky one. I'm going to be nice and give it a 3 all around, 3 for style, 3 for my own personal taste. Only reason I'm giving it that high is because it's not quite in the realm of absolutely disgusting, gross, like what's the one, Axe Wound or something, and Earthquake, or those really gross ones that Chad gave me. Those ones are on another level than this. This is still, you can drink it if it's cold, you drink it fast, but it's just barely verging on drinkable for me. And I don't even know if I'm going to be able to take this down without puking. So yeah, my name is Greg and I'm a Canadian.
I am Canadian. All right, and Ash, what's your thoughts?
So when I crack this open, you know how you have those associations like of smell. You smell something and it brings you right back to wherever that memory came from. So I cracked the top on this. I took a whiff after I poured it, and this brought me back to like house parties and barf and shameful next days. So it certainly has its place for just a crushable lager. I'm actually on a personal search for a lager for the summer. So I can totally understand how some people can just crack this, not think about it, and just drink it and enjoy it. To me, though, this is to Canadian beer what Justin Bieber is to Canadian music. It just does not represent us well. So to harken back to like Justin Bieber and barf, I would probably give this, for a macro lager, I'm going to give it 5 out of 10, because it pretty much hits most of the points. It does come across a little sweet on the nose after it's warmed up. It's really sweet on the back of the palate at the end. And for personal enjoyment, I don't enjoy this at all. I'm going to give this a 1 out of 10.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's low.
I like it more than he does.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a complete upset.
That's too funny. We'll go to Matt.
All right, and back to Matt.
What's the ABV on this? Actually, it's not on my bottle.
5%. Look who's hoarding ours anyway.
Greg said it perfectly. It's literally corn water. You know what I mean? It's corn water and rice water. It has more to do with a low grade sake than it does with beer. It's just carbonated. It is. I mean, it is. It's not offensive. Do you know what I mean? To the point where you're gonna throw up from it, but at the same time, it's not anything overtly pleasurable or anything like that. There's no discernible hops. There's no discernible like yeast profile to me. There's a bit of dryness. That's about it. But it's just essentially sweet corn water and a bit of rice, and that's pretty much it. I mean, other than that, I don't know what else to say. It's got hockey on it, so that's nice. Yeah. If I was gonna rate it, I'd probably rate it for style for a low grade sake. It'd probably 3 out of 10, and then personal enjoyment 0.
Ooh. Our first 0 ever.
Ooh.
House is 101.
There you
Well,
go.
it's not enjoyable at all. Why would I say it's not enjoyable and give it a 1 or 5 or 2?
Hey.
See, you guys said I was biased towards the beer, and here we are. See, I rated it way too high.
Well, right. Anyway,
Well,
let's get down to. Can I talk?
Yeah, you're up.
All right. My turn. All right. So, yeah. Even when, just like I said, when opening this now, I'm taking right back, giving it a smell. It smells just like all those parties in my early 20s that I went to, and I brought a pack of Molson Canadian. But I remember it took me like most of a decade to actually get right into beer, like as I am now, because of beers like this. Like when I was my palate was evolving. When I liked things that had a bit more flavor than something like this, when I wanted to have something to get drunk with, and it always tasted like yeasty piss water, just like a beer like this did. Tasting this now, I'm gonna get in like a like the smell is kind of like a bready, sweet, yeasty, bit of copper coin on it. The beer is very watery. It's also tastes quite yeasty with a bit of sweet toasted corn, a little caramel, it's mostly soggy cardboard, and a touch metallic in the finish. And it kind of it's weaker than I remember from back in the days, and I find that it's a beer that almost tastes like it's manufactured rather than brewed. It's almost like they added grain spirits or something to something like this, and just I don't know, and just made it on an assembly line, or I don't know. I'm not even sure if this is brewed anymore. Just color added and shit. It quenches the thirst at least, so at least it's like if you were handed one, it's not offensive to the point where you're just gonna, say fuck no, I'm not drinking that shit. No, you drink it if you're just spending time with friends, and that's really, I think, what a beer like this is meant for. Is the only thing at the hockey game when you're going to the concession stands. It's not horrible, but isn't my cup of tea. It fills the hole. Anyway, so overall for the style, I'm going to give it 5.5 out of 10. Just because, I mean, if this is the style of beer that this is, I mean, it's hard to deny that that's an adjunct lager. For my personal enjoyment, 3 out of 10. I'm probably going to finish drinking this, and it'll be a long time before I try drinking this again.
It's funny how I fucking went the highest scores on this one, but you know what? I am the noobiest noob on this panel right now anyway, so.
Noob.
The newbiest noob. Let's go into the comments, shall we, Nick? Okay.
Back to comments, and I see Paul P.A. Brunus.
Paul's in here. He says, get 1 out of 1,000. Actually, he says he agrees with Matt. 0 for the win. So Stella is better. I get it. Yep. And Paul agrees with you, Matt.
Oh yeah, definitely Stella's better.
That's not the Paul I know.
And then Paul said Nick went to a party of Rob the Robots and Power Glove enthusiasts, and that's 100% accurate.
Hey, fuck off.
A chemistry set goodness. Paul said he wouldn't drink it. Greg says, did Nick just say it fills the hole? I guess he did.
Yeah, I did mention about filling holes.
And then Paul likes to troll and says, Rob the Robot filled the hole too, deep and full. Yeah, that's professional. And yep, that just happened.
Why did you have to read those comments? It's like you're almost like Greg reading just every comment that's there.
Hey, fucking 3 comments. What the fuck you want from me? I gotta read something and fill time. Jesus Christ, man.
all in all, like, actually this beer reminds me of, and it reminds me because you have like your buds and your mills and your cores and all that kind of stuff, and those are like beers trying to be like lagers. This tastes more like a beer that's trying to be like a Asian beer, like an Asian lager. This tastes more like a Ting Sao or a Sun or something like that, to where it's more that it's trying to be that as opposed to an American fake lager. It's like that sweetness is just so like reminds me of those kind of beer. If you ever have any of those like weird imported Asian China based beers like Snow and stuff like that, it reminds me of that more than an actual like fake American lager.
So Molson Canadian, made in China. You've heard it here first.
And the only Chinese beer I think I've ever had is that what is it, that Buddha one that comes in the Buddha bottle. I'm not even sure that's Chinese.
That's Smiling Buddha.
Smiling Buddha, that's it.
The beer is the bottle's a lot better than the beer.
Yeah.
See, the president of my company comes back he goes to China 2 or 3 times a year, and he always brings me back like cans of beer from there, like weird ones. He's like, this is some shit beer I found there. I'll bring it back for you, and it reminds me of that more than like a Bud or a Coors or something like that.
You know what this kind of, I'm thinking, it reminds me when you start talking about Asian beers. Remember Tiger Lager? You ever have that? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Isn't that big in like Costa Rica or something like that's like their big thing down there?
Oh fuck, I don't know. I had no idea. I think it's from like Sri Lanka or something. Is where it's from, isn't it? I know it's somewhere down there. Not Sri Lanka. Singapore.
It's Southeast Asia. There you go. Just lump it all in
leave
there.
it at that.
All right, I got some
I don't know.
scores for you, Nick.
All right, what's the scores?
All right, so we hate this beer. I actually overscored it a little bit too high now that I just finished off that can. But anyway,
So did I.
so on the average here for style, we gave it a 4.5 out of 10, and for overall enjoyment, we gave it a 2.4
Holy shit!
out of 10.
That zero
So
really brought it down.
This is the worst beer we have done on Beer Analysis 101. Thanks.
Is it worse
Nick,
than
for
Facts
choosing this one.
10%?
Well,
Yeah, actually, I think so.
it's just like going to a proctologist. You're just gonna have to buck it up, pull it in your pants, and just let the doctor do it. You know.
And I got to say, having drank the rest of this, Matt is 100% right. I'm actually now feeling legit sick to my stomach after drinking this. And now I remember why I don't like it, Nick. I forgot. This actually makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah,
Thanks for bringing that
you gotta
memory.
be barfing in the morning.
No, it
I'd
won't
say
make- it
Agnes
won't
can
make-
hold your hair up out of the toilet, but you don't have any.
I don't have any here. No, it won't make me puke. But now I remember why I don't like this beer so much. I forgot I blocked that from my memory. So anyway, fuck you, Nick. in the most professional way possible. And the worst part is that I have to admit that Matt was right.
But I can distinctly remember being 20 and drinking like 5 or 6 of those to get drunk because I've always been a cheap drunk.
I don't know how you
Over like
I mean,
a LAN party or something over at Fuzz's place.
The only thing I'll say about this too, in closing, for me, I took half the bottle and I put it into a French press and I put some homegrown hops in there, so we got some Hallertau. So maybe we can see what this beer actually tastes like with some hops in it. So I'm gonna let it sit.
Awesome.
I'm gonna let it sit for another 20, and we'll see what we got.
That
as
is
interesting
awesome.
as that is, I feel you've just killed a bunch of hops and haven't even given them a good reason to die.
Oh, this is last year's harvest, so they've been in the freezer for about 10 months.
Oh, okay.
Pretty much as long as that beer is in the fridge. But
That's awesome. I like the idea of actually using a French press to do it, like to infuse it.
that's hilarious.
Anyway,
let's go back into the comments here. It
Yeah.
says Paul doesn't do professional, which is fine. Andrew Watts says, keep this going. I love this. Thank you so much, guys. Now, you know what? Thank you, Andrew Watts, for watching.
Yeah, he just subscribed to me a couple of weeks ago, I think, and thanks for watching, Andrew. By the way, cheers. I wish I had a better bottle of cheers you with, but
And again, you may love Molson Canadian. It doesn't make you a bad person. I just want you to know that.
you may like it, but we don't.
Craig says that Tiger beer is brewed in the UK at Shepherd and Mamie.
Shepherd me.
Sure.
They make like Spitfire, and I've had a couple beers from them
Paul
before.
says knowledge dropped, and he actually thinks that Ashley's wasting hops. Congratulations. And on the 10th, that's me. He says, what's the beer next week, Nick?
What's the beers next week? Well, we're going to do a beer that's kind of friendly towards some of the UK beer tubers that we normally have on. So we've decided to go with Young's Double Chocolate Stout.
Yay!
And to the Americans that might be watching and interested in joining, the nitro beer version, if you can get it, it's cool with me.
Oh,
So there
we
you
can't get the nitro
Yeah, you
beer.
can get that, eh?
I wish I could get it. Sounds
I
awesome.
think so. I should be. I know I can get Young's. I'll have to look. It's my since I moved my. I don't know my bottle shop places all that well coming down this way. Molson Canadian was easy to find. Let's put it that way. But
Go to a
I
gas
should be able
station
to
to
find
find
Walmart.
that there.
I can get Young's, but I have to drive 2
Old on the
kilometers.
corner, I mean.
What was that, Matt?
I bought my Molson off a hobo off the corner, so I don't even know if it's,
That sounds about
It's
right.
not actually
Beer or
Molson. It's
he-
probably urine.
or he peed in it, but it's probably 6-1. You know.
He was probably selling it at a loss, and he's okay with that.
That's way too funny.
I'm sure a certain unnamed beer doctor, we don't name names here, probably gave it to him.
Yep.
We don't
After
name
being
names.
harassed on the street.
So that's the end of
Anyway.
the show.
That is the end of Beer Analysis 101 for tonight. Stay tuned because we're going to go live in a few more minutes there to have our after chat, the post analysis, and we're going to finish on Greg barfing. So thanks for watching. There, buddy.
Cheers.
We'll talk to you folks later.
Settle
Cheers.
down there, Greg.
Nick. Fuck
Settle
you.
down, Greg.